recorded, your image and voice will be recorded. All right, for first item for business are the minutes. So do we have a motion?
Can you wait 1 second?
Sure.
I want to make sure it is recording. I'm not sure it is.
Do you see the little box that says allow recording, I think?
And that popped up and I said yes, but let me try it again. I'm sorry. I want to make sure. Permission is needed from the meeting host. Ask Town of Berlin, Mass Zoom Channel 2 for permission. I sent the request.
Okay. I don't know why we have to do it through
Oh, the request is over there.
Host allows you to record the meeting. Okay.
Okay, so now you've got to hit it.
Record again.
Recording in progress.
There we go.
Sorry about that.
Okay, that's okay.
We're a
So-
team here.
Kristen is in.
She's not popping up yet. Oh, yeah, she
Okay,
just popped
so
up.
call of order, Berlin Finance Committee meeting. Open session public meetings are subject to being recorded. Your image and voice will be recorded. All right, first item of business is the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion to approve them.
I'll second them.
All right, any further discussion on the minutes?
No.
All right, roll call, Scott, aye.
Julie, aye.
Cliff, aye.
All right, minutes pass 3-0. And why don't we begin with the reserve fund transfers?
Okay, we had a reserve fund request from the animal inspector salary part-time. This is going to help cover the amount of the agreement that was reached for the ACO to cover as the inspector at a little bit higher rate. And you are requesting, or we are requesting $62.46.
Requesting $62.46. You thought you never did it down to the penny?
Could you round it up? Yes, but you
Yeah.
can't round it down, otherwise then I have to come back.
No, exactly. So do you want to round it up to 63, make it easier on the numbers, or?
Doesn't matter, whatever's easier for you.
All right, we'll do a reserve fund transfer of $63 request from the reserve fund. So, as you just indicated, what the reason is. So does anybody have any other questions on that?
No? Seems good.
All right, so the motion is for transfer of $63 from reserve fund to the animal inspector salary part-time. So, we have a second?
Yes.
All right, so, any other discussion?
No.
All right, roll call, Scott, aye.
Cliff, aye.
Julie, aye.
All right, passes 3-0.
Kristen has her hand up. I don't know how we deal with that.
You can.
Can you click
promote
on
her-
it?
Promote her to a panelist, if you can.
Promote her to a panelist. Got any ideas how to do that? Oh, there she is. Her screen is here. Can you hear me, Kristen?
Sign there.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Excellent. I'll put my hand down.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I
Hi.
couldn't join this evening.
We're just getting through the basic business. We've done the minutes, and then we've got 2 reserve fund transfer requests. We've just done the first.
Perfect. I've been listening.
And as soon as Julie's ready.
Can I ask a technical question? What did you do to get it to work?
Over there, you'll see the participants on the side.
Yes.
You just have to go to the little box on the side and ask, allow.
And you have to do it over there?
If you didn't see it over there, then I
Yeah.
would say it has
Okay.
to be over there.
Sorry about, I just need to know the technical thing. All right.
Okay, and the second one that we need to request is $25,000 for the legal expenses. As I think Kristen has mentioned a couple of times, that we've had additional issues come up that needed to have legal services, and it's going over what was originally budgeted for. And also, just to let you know that before we did this transfer, there was $105,000 left still in the reserve fund.
Okay. Yeah, this was the original budget amount for this fiscal year was 75,000 for legal.
And through the chair, just to clarify a little bit on that too, that's one of the reasons we requested upping the budget by 25,000 for FY '25 to 100,000 because the way it's been tracking this year.
Okay, so motion is for a transfer of $25,000 from reserve fund to the legal expense line item. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any other further discussion? All right, roll call, Scott, aye.
Cliff, aye.
Julie, aye.
All right, passes 3-0. I'm assuming Mary has not popped up yet, right?
No, she has not.
Joining us in person today.
Hey, I was across the hall in Conneaut. I figured I'd take the long walk over.
Already here? All right, so that was it, right? Just the two? On June?
Yes,
Just-
that's it. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
All right, next, we've got Kristen online. Let's turn it over to her.
All right, do we want to go through some of the expenditures? I do have one last-minute request that has come in that will be new to PEG because it hasn't even gone to the select board, and I will tell you why it's new. We have been getting, this is on the fire EMS side. So I don't know if you're all aware, but we have online permitting for building. And we have been talking to our permitting software group about trying to get fire permits on there, because a lot of times developers will get their building permits through the online system, and then they have to come in and do the fire ones in person, kind of sort of defeating the purpose of having an online permitting system when you can only do half of the permits online. So we've been going back and forth with the permitting company, and they initially started at wanting $20,000 to add the fire module, which we said absolutely not, because we're only paying, oh gosh, I believe it's $9,000 or $10,000 for the building side of the shop. And we've been able to negotiate them down to $4,000 for adding the fire side of the module. And I'm going to make a weird switch proposal here. At the select board meeting Monday night, we talked about the extra $4,000 that I had put in for a potential assistant treasurer recruitment. And the feedback that I had gotten from the select board was that if we had to hire somebody and pay them a little higher, they'd rather see that go through a reserve fund transfer process, or perhaps the HR money that we've set aside, that $30,000 for HR needs, hiring, et cetera. And so I'm proposing that we take that $4,000 that I was recommending for that spot and use it for this online permitting module for fire. I just think it'll make it a lot simpler for residents, and it's a small cost compared to, especially where we started at, but we've been able to negotiate them down significantly, and I think it will be helpful to folks. It's not just, builders, it's anyone who needs to pull a fire permit for anything in town. So that's my only change on the expenditure side. So I don't know how you want to go through the budget, if you want to just start at the top.
Yes, can we see the budget? Are you sharing?
I will pull it up on my screen, if you give me just a second.
We don't have the big screen.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the screen computer is.
I saw one of them downstairs when we were voting yesterday.
I think he
Oh,
might
maybe
have
it's
gotten
still
moved.
down
I have no idea. But
If she shares it, will it show up on that one? Okay.
It'll
Yeah.
show up on the, am I hooked on to the big TV in the
Well,
room?
we don't have the big TV.
Well, the other alternative is Julie has her laptop, I have a laptop here, we can also bring it up there.
I can't do anything. on
Oh,
my
you're doing your
laptop
minutes?
because I'm taking minutes.
Okay.
But I was gonna give a little bit more space by closing,
The unnecessary information?
yeah.
All right. I got booted out of the remote network, so it's going to take me just a second to get back in. If you give me one moment.
I still don't see Mary, by the way. I'll let you know if she shows up.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Chris, while we're waiting for that few moments, we probably put everybody knows it at this point, but we had one member resign, Shane, so we are down to 4, and we now have an open position.
You beat me to the punch, Scott. I was actually just going to ask if you wanted to mention that while I was opening this, but let me make sure Zoom will let me share my screen. I've got it open. Okay,
Oh, good job, Kristen.
There it is.
I tried. Can you see it on the big TV?
It's tiny.
All right. Maybe, I don't know if I can make it bigger, if that will help.
Well, I'm going to bring it up on my computer.
Recording in progress.
Julie is,
Scott, you've got to mute.
mute your computer.
The microphone's off.
Can you see that better, Julie?
Yeah. Somewhat.
Better, okay.
What I need to see is the line numbers.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was trying to make it bigger. Hold on.
Because we'll put it in by line numbers, so.
Yep. And the line numbers keep getting messed up too, but I think I fixed them this afternoon. Okay, here we go. So we'll start with if you guys want to, I don't know how you want to do it. Do you want to MC? You want me to MC, Scott?
Sure, yes. You can,
Oh, want me to do it?
yes.
Okay.
Are we getting a feedback?
Yeah,
Yes,
we're getting feedback on my
Scott needs
computer.
to be-
And
You've got to
my,
mute your mic and your sound on your computer.
mine's off.
You got to turn your volume off, too.
My
Oh, I think it just
volume
went
is-
away.
Yeah,
My volume is off, my microphone is off.
it was coming out of my computer, but mine was muted, so, but we're better now.
We're better. I think you're all set. Okay, so, sorry, I do have to make it a tiny bit smaller because I have to be able to see my recommendation.
Okay.
So we talked last week about the moderator, and it is a small increase because of the conference that cost more. And I'm recommending, even though the moderator only requested a modest $15, that means he actually has to use his $50 stipend to pay for his conference. So I am recommending we give the moderator his $50 stipend and $145 to attend the meeting of the Moderators Association.
All right. Do we want to just go, I don't think there's anything too controversial here. Do we just want to go down a few and then
Yeah.
do it in bulk?
Yeah.
Yes, Julie, will appreciate that.
Sure, yeah, because then I can go over and enter them in mine. So I guess what I'll say is, I'll say like select board stipends, select board is just stipends now, everything's moved to town admin. Any questions on select board?
No,
No.
none for me, anybody?
No.
No.
All right, I know we went over all those changes to the town administrator budget, any questions there?
No.
No.
No. Well, the only one question I have is, that you said you're moving that 4,000. Where was the 4,000 moving from?
Out of the treasurer full-time wages line item,
Oh, it was under the treasurer full-time wages line item. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
All right, and then there's your FinCom budget, which is level funded, the reserve fund, which is level funded, and the accountant budget. Any questions there?
I have none.
No.
Okay, and then I think we'll stop with the audit, which is $1,000 increase.
Okay.
All right. So does anybody have any other questions on those?
That's lines 1 through 17.
Okay, so I guess the motion being to approve let's see, what's the right wording here? Can I see more of this?
I would. If are you looking for the motion?
Yes.
So if you're approving it in accordance, and also, you can't see it right here, but the select board did vote on all of these budgets as well, as you saw last time. And they were voted in accordance with my recommendations. The one change, as I mentioned, was the treasurer budget. But these line items 1 through 17 were recommended by the town administrator and the select board, if you'd like to make the motion that way.
Okay, so the motion is to approve lines 1 through 17, or items 1 through 17, as recommended by the town administrator and the select board.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any further discussion on that?
No.
No.
Okay, so roll call, Scott, aye.
Cliff, aye.
Julie, I.
All right, passes 3-0.
Great. If we could jump to line 23 then, I'm still working on, there were a couple things on the assessor's budget that needed an adjustment, so I'll come back with that one. But the revaluation actually went into the assessor's budget, so that's actually a 0 line item for line item 23. Then the treasurer collectors, I've revised my recommendation, as you can see, to the full-time wages of $56,564, which was the department request, and what was also voted on by the select board. So that would be the current wage of the assistant treasurer collector plus 2%. Just reverting back to that and taking out the extra funding I had initially requested. Any questions there?
Nothing from here. Do you have-
Not for me either. We're trying to get Mary into the meeting.
Oh, do you want me to pause while you get her in?
If you could, please.
Certainly.
I lost her. She just disappeared.
No, she should be coming up here momentarily.
Oh, there she is. She's in.
All right.
Hi, Mary.
Hey,
Thanks for your help, June.
Right, Mary, we're just started the approving line items in the budget. We just did the items 1 through 17. And now we're starting with, skipping with the assessors and now moving, just getting a review of, starting from item 23.
okay, thanks.
And if you can see, Mary, I'm just scrolling through what line items 1 through 17 are for you. And as I mentioned before, my recommendations, the select board were in agreement with my recommendations on lines 1 through 17. And then we're going to skip, as you said, 18 through 22. Then we have the reval, which has been zeroed out, line 23, because that goes in with the assessor's budget, excuse me. So that's a 0-line item.
Say, Kristen, can I interrupt for just a second?
Absolutely.
We're looking at your screen. Can you show the column that shows where the select board did the approval?
I can, it just gets really small.
Oh, all right.
But you know what? Let me do, I'm trying to think. You know what? Let me hide these columns because those do not matter as much. That's just the initial change from the recommendation to, let's see.
Yeah, if I was home, I could use my large monitor, but I'm on the laptop, so I can't, I can't toggle between the Excel file. I have the Excel file of the budget, but I can't go back and forth between live
Mary,
and.
unfortunately, in the room tonight, we don't have the big TV, we only have the small monitor,
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
so we're,
Yeah,
Hopefully that's still visible. I just hid the
It is.
change
Yeah.
columns.
Yes, it is still
But
visible.
that way you can see the dollar amounts that were voted. You
Right,
can see
right.
the request from the department, my recommendation, and then the dollar amounts that were voted by the select board.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, and then we go down to legal. As I mentioned, and as we just did the reserve fund transfer for, we really need to go up to the $100,000 there, unfortunately. Personnel level funded, tax title actually going down. We're not doing as much activity there. Data systems level funded. And I'll stop there for a minute if anyone has questions on those line items.
Nobody in the room.
Mary?
Nope,
All
nope.
right. Then we get into the town clerk line items, which I'll bring up because they're kind of a package deal here. The town clerk, elections and registration, all going up by the amounts that you see as there are 4 elections this year, is a presidential election year. So these are all of the corresponding requests for staffing and expense time. Any questions on town clerk items?
No. No.
No?
Nope.
The next set is Conservation Commission. They had requested 2 extra hours for their conservation agent and did recommend that. Planning Board level funded, CBA level funded, AgCom level funded. And before we get into public buildings, maybe that's a good place to stop.
Sure.
So that would be
23.
line item 23.
I'm sorry, what did you say, line items 23 through,
44.
44.
okay.
All right, so the motion is to approve line items 23 through 44 as recommended by the town administrator and the select board.
I'll second that.
Okay, any other discussion? You all set, Mary?
Nope, I'm okay with it.
Okay, roll call, Scott, aye.
Cliff,
Mary, aye.
aye. Mary?
Julie, aye.
Sorry.
Okay, passes 4-0.
All right. We'll roll down to public buildings next. There is, as you see, that supplemental request for the flooring maintenance that I pulled out and put into a special article. You'll see it on the warrant, which I imagine we'll be talking about next week. And so that is funded almost at the request of the highway superintendent, with the exception of an additional $500. As we discussed before, that is that cell phone for the 1870 town hall manager that went in there. Any questions on public buildings?
Nothing yet.
No.
All right. Town report went down because, as we said before, we're going to do print less of them, since we have 2 boxes left over from last year. Police, we combined the wages full-time and part-time, and we're adding that half-year salary for the 11th officer. And then, let's see, any questions on police? Oh, missed a They did vote on the expenses. Sorry, I just missed putting the date in there.
We're here to proofread for you, Kristen.
Hey, you know, I catch it the best myself when I go through it, and I catch my own errors. Shame on me on that date. All right. And then the fire and EMS salary is correct. The wages haven't changed. They were combined full and part-time. And on the expenses is that last minute $4,000 that I just mentioned for the permitting software to add fire permits to be done online. I don't know if you heard that part, Mary.
I might have tuned in when that was wrapping up.
Okay. So we have online permitting for building permits, but we don't have fire permit module. So it kind of defeats the whole purpose because people can only do part of their permits online and the rest of them
Yeah.
have to come in and do them in person. So we've been negotiating back and forth, and the permitting software company started at $20,000 to add the fire module, and we were like, absolutely not, we can't do it. Well, we kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and we got them to add it for $4,000. So considering we only pay, I think it's $9,500 for the software as a whole, that's a significant decrease from where they were at, and we think it'll make a huge difference for people applying for permits. So what I did was I took that $4,000 out of the treasurer collector wages line item that I was recommending in case we needed a little extra money for the assistant treasurer collector. The board felt that that should come out of somewhere else, whether it be a reserve fund transfer or perhaps that HR line item that we put in there. So I took it out of there to agree with the select board, and I moved it down here. Now, the select board has not voted on this line item yet. This happened today. So you don't need to vote on it if you don't want to, but I just wanted to explain it because it is a change.
Kristen, in this case, could we just vote through here and then for that one just say we approve it pending the select board?
Sure.
Or do we want to skip it to next time?
I mean, at this point, I don't know if there's really any objection just voting it tonight, and
It's just because the way we're wording the motions.
yeah, we could. Yeah, I know. It's, this was
That's
a little
good
bit
point.
different. I mean, we could just word this one as recommended by the town administrator, and leave the
For the one line item?
yeah, and
Julie, would it help you, Julie, to just vote it separately?
Yeah.
okay, all right.
So I was
we'll-
going
we'll
to say,
vote it separately.
just take whatever was above it, do it, and then do that one. And
Yeah, that's what I was just going to suggest, Julie. If you all want to vote lines 50 through 56.
Let's see. If you want to go back up, we didn't complete
Oh.
past 44, so I think we had
Did we
started
not?
45.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm losing track. Okay, so actually that would be lines 45 through 56. I feel like I'm playing bingo here.
Okay, so the motion is to approve lines 45 through 56 as recommended by the town administrator and the select board.
I'll second that.
All right, any other discussion?
Nope.
no.
All right, so roll call, Scott, aye.
Cliff,
Mary?
aye.
Mary, aye.
Julie, I.
All right, passes 4-0.
Okay. Great, and then if you'd like to take line item 57 separately, which is that expenses for fire and EMS with the additional $4,000.
Right, so the motion is to approve line item 57 as recommended by the town administrator.
I'll second that.
All right, any other discussion?
No.
No.
Okay, roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, aye.
Cliff, aye.
Julie, I.
All right, approved 4-0.
All right. Then we are moving on to line 58. Building inspector department, sorry, excuse me. Building inspector department and plumbing and gas and electrical inspector. That's kind of a package there. Any questions on those line items?
No?
No.
No.
Okay. And then why don't we round this out with the animal inspector and communications?
No.
All right. Let's see. Do we want to just, since that's the end of a category, do we want to vote those, the
Sure.
rest of those? All right, so
Okay.
that would be 58 through 66.
All right, so the motion is to approve line items 58 through 66 as recommended by the town administrator and the select board.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion?
No?
No.
No.
All right, roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Cliff, aye.
Julie, I.
All right, approved 4-0.
Sorry to keep coughing. Okay, so then we're moving on to Public Works and Facilities. And the first would be line 67, which is Highway. That does include the supplemental funding requests of a third seasonal laborer who helps out, I think, primarily with mowing, I believe, in the summer. And also the additional highway laborer position of a full-time worker. Any questions on highway?
No.
Nope.
Okay. Snow and ice, pretty standard. That does add an additional seasonal plow driver on the supplemental. Any questions there?
No. I remember
Nope.
that.
All right. Streetlights, pretty straightforward. And the transfer station. That one we need to figure out, we're still discussing whether that's going to a revolving fund or not. So the select board has not voted on that yet. It is a Board of Health line item. They did come before you. I mean, we cannot come back, excuse me, next week with that, if you'd like to vote that budget,
Okay.
separately, after the select board's voted.
Yeah, we can do that next
Yeah.
week.
Perfect. So then, why don't we do lines 67 through 74?
All right, so the motion is to approve line items 67 through 74 as recommended by the town administrator and approved by the select board.
I'll second that.
Right, any other discussion?
No?
No.
All right, roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Cliff, aye.
Julie, I.
All right, passes 4-0.
And then just to round out the one straggler line item here would be cemetery expenses, which is level funded. But I don't know if we can go into the next one.
Yeah, we can go into the next
Or
one. I
just
think a
one.
lot of these are not controversial here, so.
I was
a
trying to
few
keep
more.
them even, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Then there's Board of Health, pretty straightforward. Neshoba Health, Neshoba Nursing, both going up by a 7.5% increase. That is just the district's cost increase. And I would ask that we hold at the moment on social services until the board can take a vote there. So perhaps you can do line items 77 through 82 unless anyone has any questions.
No.
Yeah, so the motion here is to approve line items 77 through 82 as recommended by the town administrator and voted on or recommended by the select board. Any other, second?
Second?
Any other discussion?
No?
No.
All right, roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Cliff, aye.
Julie, I.
All right, approved 4-0.
Okay. Just skip over social services for right now. And we'll do veterans and community social services, which is the WHEAT program, as well as the library, if anyone has questions on those lines.
No.
Nope.
Nope.
All right, then if you would like to vote lines 86 through 91.
Okay, so the motion is to approve line items 86 through 91 as recommended by the town administrator and approved by the select board.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion?
Nope.
Okay, roll call, Scott, aye.
Cliff?
Mary, I.
Julie, aye.
All right, approved 4-0.
All right. Recreation, the select board did ask for some additional information before making that vote. They just wanted to see some of the breakdowns a bit more. So I will be providing that to them for their meeting on Monday. Cultural Council, so we'll skip that one. So we'll start with 94, which is Cultural Council level funded, Historical Commission level funded, Memorial Day level funded, and for fun, let's throw in debt and interest because those are fixed. So can't change those. Before we get into intergovernmental, if you'd like, if you have any questions on items 94 through 98.
No.
I do not. All right, so the motion is to approve line items 94 through 98 as recommended by the town administrator and approved by the select board.
Second.
Any other discussion?
No?
No.
Okay, roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Cliff, aye.
Julie, aye.
All right, approved 4-0.
Okay. Then we'll get into our intergovernmental category. The CMRPC is the money we pay to Central Mass Regional Planning Commission every year for our regional assistance that they provide to us, primarily on the planning side and zoning. Assabet Regional Housing Consortium, I was informed today that they are putting out an RFP for a new consultant to handle their affordable housing, and that we should expect or budget for up to a 20% increase. So fortunately, 20% of 7,000 isn't all that much, but I do need to have the select board revote that. It's going to be a fixed cost. I mean, 20% is 8,400. I've made it 85 because I like to budget conservatively. And then we have the Assabet assessment, debt repayment, and capital stabilization for the vocational schools that have all been voted. So the 7,000 was already voted on by the select board. It's up to you how you'd like to vote line 100, but are there any questions on lines 99 through 103?
Well, yeah, I don't think there's any other questions. I think what we can do is we can do one vote doing 99 and 101 through 103, then a separate vote for 100. That'd be work for you, Julie, make it easier, since the select board hasn't approved.
Yeah, so, so if we want to keep them in order in the minutes, in case anybody actually reads these, we should do the 99, then the 100.
You want to do the,
Do them
Okay.
in order because it's going to get,
okay.
we're already kind of fried. Try to explain it to somebody else later.
Okay.
Just keep it in order and people will be happier.
We will do that. So the motion is to approve line item 99 as recommended by the town administrator and approved by the select board.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion?
No.
Roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Cliff, aye.
Julie, aye.
All right, approved 4-0.
Okay. Now,
Yeah, now the motion will be for line item 100, to approve line item 100 as recommended by the town administrator.
I'll second that.
All right, any other discussion?
Nope.
All right, roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Cliff, aye.
Julie, aye.
All right, approved 4-0. And the next motion is to approve line items 101 through 103 as recommended by the town administrator and approved by the select board.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion?
Nope.
All right, roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Cliff, aye.
Julie, aye.
All right, approved 4-0.
okay. So, here's the deal with 104 104 through 108. There's a couple we can vote on tonight, and I may recommend that you think about it. Oops, sorry, I jumped down a line. Either think about how you want to vote or vote. The marching orders I've received were a 2.5% increase on the assessment for Berlin Memorial and Tohoto. Now, that was from both the Select Board and the FinCom. So I'm going to unhide a little bit so you can see what this means in terms of dollar amounts. Hold on a second. And I think we went over the school budget last week pretty in depth, but the Berlin Memorial assessment, there is debate, as we know, as to what the starting number is. I've actually requested copies of what their FY24 assessments were certified at by DOR, and they haven't gotten them back yet. So as soon as they receive them, they will send them to me. But it seems that there's some potential, they're trying to figure out what's going on with that. So I don't know if that has anything to do with our assessment numbers being different than we thought or what. But I based everything off of 3.9. That does not include the free cash of 382 that was one-time funding. And that does not include, obviously, the school's money of $350,000 that they put in. So as we discussed last year, we were starting at the base, going up 2.5%. That gives them an additional $98,111, bringing the funding to $4,022,545. Tohoto, there is no dispute, as far as I know, on the starting number. We are agreed that the FY24 assessment is $3,206,381. So when I increase that by 2.5%, that's an $80,160 increase, or for a total of $3,286,541. I will tell you, as you can see from here, we are over approximately, their request is over our budget by about $1.2 million. I have a balanced budget right here. The capital is not set yet because we're still waiting for more information from them, and then we're going to have another capital meeting. But that doesn't affect the bottom line budget number because the capital comes in and then goes out through free cash on the revenue side, so that's a wash. And the debt repayment of $449,954 is what it is. We're obligated to pay that. There's no question there. So I am kind of curious how the FinCom would like to proceed, given that the budget is balanced with the 2.5% and the Tohoto debt repayment. Obviously, you'd skip over the two capital line items until capital gives you a recommendation, which will hopefully be very soon.
Well, I think there's, from my point of view, is, obviously there's still things going on here, and agree that we do have a balanced budget as shown here. So I do have the request. The schools, we were expecting to have the presentation to us tonight. They are unable. Well, they canceled. I did request to Carol if they could come next week at this time. I haven't heard back. That was just late this afternoon. So right now, at least from a vote standpoint, I would, other than myself, the Tohoto debt repayment, I would be willing just to hold off until we have further information about exactly what the consequences are.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That is my
agreed.
opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And Mary, what's your thoughts?
Given recent events, Scott, I'm prepared to vote tonight as Kristen laid it out because I don't see it changing. And I think, I think we will benefit both ourselves and the school district by giving this very clear message. So I don't have a problem with voting tonight. And this is the second budget season where I've experienced this kind of presentation, and I think we just need to do the right thing by the citizens of Berlin, and pull together the balanced budget. I frankly feel like that I've experienced a lot of churn and not for productive results. So I like what's been proposed. I'm willing to vote on it. I'm also willing, if the others on the committee want to let the district superintendent have another shot at it, I'm happy to listen. But I think our revenues are what they are, and I think we need to do this.
All right, so I guess the question would be, do we have a motion if we want to vote on, a motion to vote on whatever particular line items? Does anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot, Scott. So the motion is that, motion would be to approve line items 104, 106, and 108 as presented by the town administrator and recommended by the town administrator.
All right, do we have any second?
Oh.
All right, we don't have a second, so we will postpone a vote on that.
Scott, if
Yes.
I could just for
Sure.
a minute add just a little bit of context too, and I'm not saying that you should vote on this, I just want everyone to go into this with eyes open. So because we have a balanced budget, what this means is one of two things, three things. If we increase the assessment for the schools, meaning if we give them more than 2.5% at this point, what that first means is either cutting supplemental and cutting department budgets on the town side, depending on how much you're willing to increase. But there's no way that I can get to 1.2 million, even if I were to gut department budgets. I mean, you're talking about taking out the entire police department at that cost.
Mhm.
So then what you're left with is, we do have excess levy, but I have spoken to town council, and so the greatest number of voters can vote on this, because that would be a tremendous increase in taxes. I would recommend that we put an override on the warrant if the FinCom were so inclined. And we'd have to see and work on the wording of how that actually would play out, but it would be attached to the budget article. And it would be something along the lines of, if the school budget, a motion to go along with the school budget passing, that there would be an override tied to it. Now, that could pass or fail, just like the school budget could pass or fail in and of itself. And as you have seen, we do have excess levy. So it's going to be a little tricky, and I think this is obviously part of the reason why last year we negotiated as much as we possibly could, because we want to come to an agreement. We don't want to have a fight on town meeting floor, but we are just so far off at this point. I mean, basically those are our options, are to gut the town budgets, which I can't in good conscience do. I mean, I might be able to cut supplemental funding, and that could give you maybe like $150,000 to $200,000 at most. So that's not going to get you there. Or you look at excess levy or override. Those are really the only options at this point. And the capital request has come in. I'm just going to switch to that slide real quick. At 1.3 million over, I think. So the operating deficit is 1,214,504. And what I mean by that is the difference between what they have requested and what we are proposing to fund. The total deficit between capital and operating is 2,345,830. So I just wanted to put that context out there that however we decide to proceed with this, it's going to have to end up costing the voters at this point, because I don't have enough that I can cut out of the town side to make up 1.2 million in deficit.
Yes, I mean, I definitely agree with you there. I mean, there's nothing to come up with this, close that type of gap. We're even talking about even coming close to closing the gap. I just would like to have a further understanding of what the cuts are, because one of the pieces, I think I had the first information here. This is what Julie sent out from, you must have received this at the
I received that
from
at
school
the
committee.
Yes.
And so there's two documents there, and the one document that's, well, I don't know what it's called, I printed them out. One that was 3 pages long is, I think, the first time we've received anything to given a number on their side about what the extra cost is from the above-level services. So what they've listed, for Berlin Memorial, their number is slightly different what you had there, but very close. It's 724,698 is, of course, the difference between what they're requested right now and what we would be at the additional 2.5%. That would be the difference. And of that 724,698, they've listed that 203,317 is above level. So those would be, at least here, indicating that they did not add to their services. That would be removing that, which still leaves them at a deficit of $521,381. That's at BMS.
And I just don't understand how $500,000 can be a level.
Well, that is what I'm also, and of course, again, with absence of them attending our meetings, we can't get these answers from them. So, right, the increase of, just above, of course, level services is $521,381. We know last year that our big gap at BMS was the additional cost request that came in for out-of-district special education. And that was, what was it, around $730,000? And that's how we made up that difference, by coming in agreement where the schools use some of their funds, like the school choice and additional circuit breaker money, and came up with $350,000, and we closed the rest of the gap instead of coming from the levy by using free cash of $383,000, I think it was.
Yes, something like that, yeah.
Right, so that comes up, so that's 700, so 733,000 was requested for our district special education. And the budget that I saw from them, was it just over a week ago, showed a decrease at BMS, do I have that in front of me, of $511,000, what they were budgeting for out-of-district special education. I mean, obviously, that's not the full $733,000, but $511,000 is a significant piece. And then to understand where they come up, to the rest, where it totals up to $521,000 total to get their level services, is still, a mystery to us. I mean, they do, where they're getting hit with also the special education transportation costs. There's, other pieces on there, but it's still not clear. And again, we don't have them to be able to answer our questions. So at least that's from the BMS side.
Well, one of the things that was discussed at the school district's FinCom meeting that was at 12:30 earlier today. If I'm understanding this correctly, the superintendent has asked all 3 principals to come to her by next, it's either to the superintendent or to the financial director, basically any possible cuts that can be made, to present those by next Monday. So I was getting the sense that everybody's very frustrated. They have their unfunded mandates that we all complain about from the state. In fact, I think Carol said one of the things that there's a math teacher they're adding that they have to add because they have to teach financial literacy at Tohoto. And so they need to add a teacher who can teach financial literacy, and that's mandated by the state.
Mhm.
So that's sort of what happens. Those are some of the things that they're dealing with too. So I also got the sense that they are trying to, I'm not sure how much, they seem to be hearing it a little bit better this year than last year, that the towns have limits on how much they can spend. But then they come back to, but the school needs everything and we have to provide it all. It's like the idea of like making choices on what.
Well, yes, right, and they do have to make choices.
And I think it's the making the choices that they're.
Well, everybody has a hard time with that.
Yeah, but I think it's they're still working through that. And if we don't do anything this week, I think we should be ready to do something next week, because by that point we're in the middle of March.
Well, yes, we're already it's March 6th. And again, this is, we did meet with the schools in December, but again, here we are, and we still have not met with the schools again. I mean, we were invited to their budget hearing last week on Tuesday. So, I mean, I'm more of the opinion too, I mean, we can give the message about this is what the 2.5% is, and I would just like to, myself, hold off a vote. I know we have to make a vote very soon, but I'd like to hold myself hold off on a vote until next week. So.
I'm okay with waiting till next week. Yeah.
And Julie, what's your?
I'm okay, particularly because having attended that meeting, as I know, everybody's frustrated, but they did sound like they were trying to make an effort to figure out where they could cut, and they're going to be discussing that next Monday. So to give them the opportunity to tell us what they come up with.
And the meeting on next Monday, what is that? Is that another of their
I think
subcommittee budget group?
If I understand correctly, it's the principals talking with the superintendent and the financial
So it's an
director.
internal meeting.
It's an internal
It's
meeting.
an internal meeting.
But it was asking basically asking the principals to go through the budget and figure out where they could trim.
Yeah,
And-
that's pretty typical.
And
Does the school committee right now have another meeting scheduled to vote on a possible?
I don't know if
or-
it's to vote on a budget on next week, Tuesday and the 12th. They
They
do
said-
have a meeting to
Yeah,
go
they-
over the budget.
they said they had to have another meeting to go over the budget. But they're sticking to the schedule that they provided earlier, that they're waiting until the last minute to vote,
Right.
because that's what the consultant told them to do.
I think it's important that they have the benchmark of the 2.5%,
Mhm.
so that they're not thinking it's some other magical number,
Yeah.
that should be their target.
Yeah, I mean, the frustrating thing is that there was early on was still discussion of just going to the levy limit, not understanding that,
It has tax consequences.
as I said, yeah, the understanding what that means doesn't,
Mhm.
So, yeah, and I think the reason I put the motion out on the table tonight is that we, the town of Berlin, in writing, asked the school district and the school committee to bring back a budget that was within a 2.5% increase
mhm.
over and I believe our letter said that it was the baseline, not the added free cash and so on. And so the reason I made that motion tonight is that information has been available since December. And, you know, when you operate any enterprise, you have to make strategic decisions about how to operate within available revenues. And strategic decisions are in part about what you don't do. And I think the school district and the school committee has to decide. There's all things that we want to do. I can tell you about a car I'd like to buy, but I think the reality is we really need these people in the district and on the school committee to make those strategic decisions. And we all understand unfunded mandates, but that means if you have to carry out a mandate and you don't have the funds for it, you have to not do something else you would have normally done. So, and if we need to provide further information about excess levy capacity and what it means, maybe we need to do that. But we can't. You know, my position, I didn't like what we did last year to our taxpayers, and I certainly don't want to do it again. And it's a lot of work to put together a balanced budget that Kristen's been presenting tonight, and I certainly don't see my position changing in the week. I'm happy to wait for others on the committee to come along, but truly, this 2.5% request by the town has been on the table since December, and I don't see why we need more time to put this message through. It hasn't changed since the budgeting started.
I'm sorry, Mary.
No, go ahead. I think I'm done. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if you saw, I did ask if there was a reason that, that the schools were not coming tonight, and, there was not a reason that was given. They did go to Boylston a few weeks ago to a FinCom meeting there. I'm really not entirely understanding why they won't come to a Berlin FinCom meeting, although at the meeting today, there was something mentioned about they gave us, well, Boylston gave us a number. I'd be happy to give them a number, but, you know, without a vote, I'm not going to give them a number. But their number is basically around, you know, $180,000. Maybe, I'm trying to do math off the top of my head. 98 and 80. Do the math for me. It's around $180,000. So, and I believe they kept saying that Boylston's number was around 500. So we're even way off from Boylston. So and Boylston doesn't have excess levy. So my only theory on this is that they're just counting on the excess levy, and they realize they have more work to do in Boylston because they have to do an override there.
So how about this, why don't we make a motion to tell them what our number is? So can you bring up that spreadsheet, and what is the total of the 2.5% Tohoto and 2.5%? And this would be our number regarding the assessment. I don't know.
Yeah, I stopped sharing, sorry, because I was
sorry.
running, that's not the right one. I was running too many.
Okay,
Oh,
we have a hand
sorry.
up? Let's hear from Chris.
But I can't do anything, remember?
Hold on a second, I closed the wrong thing. Give me one second.
I've tried doing something about the hand up before. Now I can do it.
Oh,
No,
did I put my hand up? Is that me?
No, it's Chris Keith.
it's Chris
Oh,
Keith.
Chris is asking a question. Oh, you just have to allow her to speak.
I don't know how to do that. Wait a second.
She's coming in.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yay.
now I
Yes, we can hear
do.
you.
Sorry.
Hey!
Hi,
Oops.
Chris.
So at the meeting this afternoon, I wanted to just, when they're talking about what we would call cuts, they're calling it trim. They're going to trim. The schools have unfunded, they feel, well, Julie particularly felt that the schools have been unfunded in the past years.
Can I just interject that that's Julie Lee, not me?
Yes,
We had
absolutely.
two Julies sitting
Not a
next to each
school
other.
committee member, yes. Not you, Julie. Yes. The other thing I wanted to say is that they wanted a number from us rather than a percentage, and I told them that they have the Boylston number, Boylston amount, and all they have to do is the math in order to find out the ratio between Berlin and Boylston, and they could have our number. Which I mean, so I don't know whether it's important to give the number or not.
Well, the number, they could do the math on the
I guess.
Tohoto side, right? It's the comparison between Boylston and BMS that's a little different.
Yeah,
So we can, when Kristen has a chance here to share her spreadsheet again, let's look at what that number is, of the 2.5%, both of those.
Yes, and I did want to, oh, sorry, Chris.
oh, I didn't say anything, I'm okay.
Oh, okay, sorry, it switched over to you, and I thought I cut you off. So I'm going to share my screen, but I want to share one thing before. I pulled up the FY24 budget. Where we were at the end of February last year before the $700,000 crisis came in March. And we, at that time, were balanced, giving what everybody felt was a very high increase of 6% and 7%. We didn't have that to give this year, and I don't have that to give this year without making cuts. However, I point that out because those numbers were far more in line with a higher end amount that last year we offered upfront, okay? And then the $700,000 somehow got absorbed into their budget when it was supposed to be for one-time special education costs that were getting reimbursed in FY25, so they shouldn't need that money. So that $700,000 has gotten absorbed and used for other purposes. And that's what I want to understand, and
And that should never have happened.
correct, because that was very specifically for special education. But they started with including that money from the top, and whether they want to do that or not, or it's legal to do that or not, I don't think we should have to go up that far because of it. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and let me just share.
And I think I actually said something, Julie, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I said that, people in town government are a little upset about the fact that you're starting from the number and including that free cash that we gave you, and that you were warned not to do that.
We made a huge point that they were
Yes.
not to do that, and everyone agreed.
And one
Yeah.
of the frustrating things is I think the current chair wasn't involved with this last year and is only looking
Right.
at how Berlin voted at town meeting.
Right.
And
Yes.
so is taking the amount voted at town meeting as the assessment.
Yes.
Could I ask a question, Kristen, about something you said?
Yes.
Since I wasn't here last year, well, I was here in spirit, not in reality. I thought I heard you say that the percent offered last year was higher than 2.5%. Not talking about, the additional money that had to come, be raised.
It was, and the reason for that was because they came to us and presented all of the information, and they came in December, they presented a level services budget and an above level services budget. They talked about special education. Yes, there was more information we wanted at the time, but I believe we were actually in a good place until the $700,000 came to be. I remember going, wow, at the end of February, my budget was done, I was balanced, everything. I actually think it was done at the end of January, but, by the end of February, for sure, I just looked back, I had a completely balanced budget, and with percentages, and I'll tell you, we had new growth that was higher last year than this year, so we were able to give some extra funding, And I really pushed on local receipts. And June will tell you, it wasn't her favorite thing in the world because we had, basically a little bit of capacity in local receipts, but once you use that up and it goes into the budget, that's it. It's a one-time adjustment, right? So I was able to make that adjustment for FY24 and made it very clear, and we had an unusual amount of free cash because the town departments had done such a great job budgeting in during COVID. So there was a lot of free cash that got returned, and we were able to do a lot for capital. And we explained all of this, that this was a one-shot, one-time deal.
So-
And we're further off this year than we were last year, and that's what I'm just struggling with.
So I'm trying to get a perspective on, I think it was a belief, maybe it was a statement, that the schools haven't been well-funded in the past. And then you said that the percent presented last year, without talking about the extra 700,000, was much higher than the 2.5%. Is that correct?
Yep, actually, I'll show you.
Yes.
No, so yeah, I trust you. You don't have to
Oh, I
show
know
me.
Well, the actual numbers, I have them here. We went to town meeting. So this is where the overall.
I'm just
overall
concerned that
budget
someone's
was-
impression is of something that wasn't true.
Well, yeah, I mean.
No, well, I think they weren't talking about last year as far as being underfunded. They were talking about years ago. And over the years and up until this.
Well, that wasn't true either.
No,
I know. I know.
that's not true. I presented a 5-year history on what the town has done. It's up and down, and I think probably driven a bit by special education, very student numbers and financial needs, but and other factors. But no, we've had.
And what I emphasized too was the fact that they need to work with us on this, not just demand, what they want. And they did agree to that, but, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, the comments they make about the underfunded, I don't have the things here, but they did have the report showing the comparisons, and big one was with Boylston Elementary. Boylston Elementary is one that looked very poorly from a spending per student amongst peer towns. So they were very low, but BMS was not that situation at all.
Your statement about that, about the comparison between the two elementary schools, was true 8 years ago. It's been.
Well, this was the present.
Boylston was traditionally spending much less money per student.
Yes. They were in tough shape. They didn't have all the commercial business on 140 like they do now.
Well, thank you, Kristen, for explaining that.
You're welcome, because when I came in and I felt that we could have been a little less conservative in our local receipt estimates, and that was a one-time adjustment. Once you adjust it, you're done. And and that's why we have less to adjust for this year. And we can talk about revenues in a minute, but I did the math for you. It comes out to $178,270 between the two schools.
And that's, Kristen, that number is what we, the town, see as a 2.5% increase over fiscal '24 assessment.
Correct.
And is that from not including the $380,000, Kristen?
That is not including that. I am not starting
Good.
from that number.
Good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I explained a lot about that too.
Yeah, I'm starting from 3.9 where we were back in, February of last year.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple of points, Julie. The current chair of the school committee did come to our FinCom meeting in February of last year, and we explained to her the role of the vote of the FinCom and the select board in achieving the budget I mean, these things were explained to her. I believe the excess levy capacity was part of that conversation that night. So the current chair at least got the information. If it didn't land, that's a different issue. But you know, and if we need to explain again what that means, that it means taxes going up, that's fine. I looked at online information about school funding and for our district, and I think I circulated some of that, some Excel charts from DESI. And I don't fully understand this, but there's a number of net student spend, and then there's some sort of mandated minimum for the municipalities.
Yes, that's true.
And when Berlin Memorial always had a higher percent, we did a lot more than we needed to for the mandatory minimum relative to Boylston. And then when we combined the districts, then that number got somewhere in between what the two had been when they were independent elementary schools. So yes, there may be some historical makeup and funding on the Boylston Elementary, but certainly not on in terms of Berlin Memorial. And I think Tohoto looked pretty good too through those numbers. I don't have them in front of me, but and I'm addressing the comment that we've been underfunded in the past. I don't think that comment is valid.
Well, neither do
Yeah.
I. And your explanation about your reference to the required net spending and the comparison between the two elementary schools, is true. And we were discussing that years before we regionalized. That was seen as one of the benefits to Boylston when we regionalized.
Yeah, I agree that it's like the BMS was far from anything from underfunded.
Yes.
Right.
So, I mean, going back to the number, so we can give them, I would recommend here to do a motion to tell them what the number is, the next number that Kristen just pointed out, 178,270, and we'll communicate them as that's your number.
If that's a motion, I'll second it.
Yes, the motion is to report to the schools that their number is $178,270
Right.
for the Tohoto and Berlin Memorial assessments over the FY24 that was agreed to, excluding the one-time free cash of $383,000, plus making sure the $350,000 that they put in their internal funds is not also included.
So you're going to have to repeat that.
Do we have that number? Lex, how about this? Instead of putting that there, can you bring up the spreadsheet there? I'll just do the motion as the
Sure
dollar
can.
amount.
You're absolutely spot on, though. That was a very comprehensive motion, but yes, it's 100, okay, well, yeah.
Can you make
It's so comprehensive, Julie's head is spinning.
Yeah, so
All right,
here's
so
the
the
motion.
number
That the
is-
motion is the amount, additional funds they have is
Wait a minute. You're going to
$178,270.
have to go really slow for me,
Okay.
okay? Scott made motion to report to the schools that.
The funds that they have over the Berlin Memorial assessment of $3,924,434
Wait a
from
minute, I'm still writing Berlin Memorial Assessment.
$3,924,434,
3,900 and,
24,434,
okay, 3,924,434.
434.
That's a lot of fours in there, okay.
And the Tohoto assessment of $3 million,
And the Honto assessment. Of 3,206,381.
206,381. So basically is that first number is over those two, total over those two assessment numbers.
Correct.
Okay. Scott made, I'm going to just repeat it so it makes sense, because I am very fried, I'm sorry. Scott made motion to report to the schools that the funds that they have over the Berlin Memorial Assessment, $3,924,434, and the Tohoto Assessment of $206,381.
Is 178,000,
100,
178,270.
178, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
178,270.
70.
Okay.
And Kristen and Scott, just to clarify, those are the $2 figures that are in lines 100 and 104, whatever it was.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is.
I'm sorry.
Correct. It is the sum total, right, line
104
179.
and 106, yeah?
Yeah, excuse me, sorry, 104 and 106, correct.
Those two line items, and then we see in column CG what the dollar amounts are, and the sum of those is 178,270, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So did anybody second?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Okay, sorry, I'm checking.
All right, do we have further discussion on that? All right, so roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, I,
Cliff, aye.
Julie, aye.
All right, 4-0 to report that to the schools. Do you want me to report that, Kristen, or do you want to do it how you want?
Entirely up to you, Scott.
I will send the, since it was Boylston FinCom that gave them their number, it'll be Berlin FinCom to give them their number.
That works for me.
Okay, I'm actually going to just change this to the name of the school district in the motion.
Okay.
Do we want to do the Tohoto debt repayment?
We can definitely do the Tohoto debt repayment. Yeah, we can,
Since it's probably not going to change.
no, that is not going to change.
it's a non-issue.
Yeah.
Well, and I heard today, just in case you're interested in voting together, that the agreement coming through for animal control, they're estimating at $21,225, which is right in line with the $22,000 that I put in there. So they're recommending we use that for budgeting purposes. Again, I always like to be a little bit conservative on that number in case it goes up a little. There is the possibility it might go down to 17 and change should a sixth community come on board. But this is going to be an interesting situation. And did I talk to you all about the animal control IMA already?
I think so.
Yeah, that it's a regional agreement that we have to have because our animal control officer is actually tied into a regional agreement with 3 other towns at this time for being on call 70 hours a week, and they're not going to allow her to work for other communities. So we either join the agreement or we lose our ACO. And there aren't a lot of them out there, I will tell you that are certified, trained, and have the experience. She also has a kennel. That $22,000 does cover vehicle benefits, a backup person, and her salary as well. So, and any expenses built into it. So, just wanted to throw that out. I imagine we're going to have a broader discussion about this with the select board Monday night. So, you may not want to vote now that I'm talking it out loud, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I think we just hold off on a vote on that unless somebody else feels we need to. I'll just make a motion to go with, to approve line item 183, the Tohoto debt repayment as recommended by the town administrator.
108.
108.
108.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one.
108?
Line item 108
Okay.
as recommended by the town administrator.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion?
No.
All
No,
right, Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Cliff, aye.
Julie, aye.
Okay,
Pass 4-0. All right, now we get to the last sections.
the last group, Worcester Regional mandated increase. Unfortunately, don't have a choice there. Workers' comp looks like a huge increase, but that's because I've combined line items 112 and 115 because they are workers' comp. It's just called injured on duty or IOD for police, so it makes it a little easier to track. There's unemployment in there, sick pay, Medicare, and property and liability insurance. All pretty straightforward in terms of the increase. The overall increase on workers' comp is just about 5%. I know it's hard to see because I combined those line items. So I don't know if anyone has questions on those. I'd like to skip health insurance for right now.
I have no questions.
No.
No, makes sense.
Okay, so the motion will be to approve items 111 through 113 as recommended by the town administrator and the select board.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion?
No.
All right, roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Cliff, aye.
Julie, aye.
All right, approved 4-0.
Are we going to do the rest?
Yeah. And motion is to approve line items 115 through 118 as recommended by the town administrator and approved by the select board.
Seconded.
I'm sorry, what was the last number?
118.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other discussion?
Nope.
All right, roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Cliff, aye.
Julie, aye.
All right, approved 4-0.
News for just a moment.
I'm fading fast, and I don't know why.
Next time.
But I think we're at the end. Is there any other business we need to discuss? So, well, actually, I guess we know that there's a school committee meeting on next Tuesday.
Mhm.
So we'll see about what time they're planning on doing the budget. Hopefully they don't tell us 5:30 and not get around to it until 7:30 again. But I'll try to be there. I'm not sure what my schedule is. But obviously, anybody can make it.
So this is next Wednesday at 12:30?
No, the school committee meeting is on Tuesday. I understand they start at 5 o'clock, but I haven't,
Oh.
we'll have to look to see, I'll ask what time they expect to discuss the budget.
Okay.
And are we expecting them next Wednesday?
I sent a request and I haven't heard a reply, at least
Okay.
before the meeting.
I wanted to say, Chris has her hand up, but quickly, Scott, I just wanted to say, I wonder if that's because we didn't invite the school committee? I don't know, I'm confused.
I don't know how, I mean, obviously, it's a public meeting, they could, had the school committee also come along.
Sure?
Well, I'm trying to unmute her, but I can't.
Chris, you may have to unmute yourself. There you go.
There. Does that work?
Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't unmute you because you were in control.
If I was muted.
My fault.
I just wanted to make you aware that they said today that they would be taking a vote of the school committee on the budget on the 19th. And I don't know if anybody's going to attend that meeting, but they would let us know on the 20th what they had voted.
Oh, 2 days before the deadline. Okay.
So, and they were kind of unbending in that, what they said.
So there's no time to negotiate because they're giving us a 2-day window, which I think falls over a weekend.
Yeah, but I did make it clear that we had really, I believe, already settled on the 2.5.
Oh, okay.
So we're all set. You know, they'll just have to figure out what they're doing.
I like that.
So, yeah.
Okay, I think that's
Scott, I
it.
was just going to say, can we
Yep.
discuss one thing before we leave on revenues? Can we?
Oh, yes, the,
like 3 minutes?
this is the change on interest.
Yes, yes. So unfortunately, it turned out to be too good to be true. And I'll go back over here so you can see. Am I sharing my screen with you?
Not yet.
No.
Oh, hold on. Let me go back. All right, like all good things, they must come to an end. So the interest accounts that we transferred, unfortunately, ended up all being stabilization accounts and CPA accounts, which keep their own interest. So the magical $250,000 number that I had that was very exciting in local receipts down here had to be scaled back to $50,000. So did a lot of thinking, researching, tried to get a little creative today and see what I could come up with. And I basically got really edgy with local receipts and got far less conservative than I like to be to make up a little bit there. I also had spoken with the assessor about new growth, and she is comfortable based on the recent numbers in the last 2 months, letting me go up to 300,000 from 250,000 in new growth. So that is helpful there. The other change I made was to, sorry, I'm switching back and forth here. Ambulance receipts. We haven't increased what we put in ambulance receipts in quite some time. And we are generating a significant amount of ambulance receipts, basically around over 200,000. Of course, we want to save some of that in case there would be, future equipment needs that couldn't be covered from capital or public safety mitigation. So I did speak with the chief about a very small increase of $25,000 there to going up to $125,000 on the ambulance receipts. And then the last piece that I did, we finally have settled with the mall on and dealing with some of their abatements, which were large. We do have about $600,000 still in an assessor's overlay, so I reduced that down to $200,000. So in the end, we are still balanced, which is good, but I did have to make some changes on the revenue side, so I just wanted to be very open about that.
So was the local receipts, the locals receipts increase was what, 80,000?
Let's see. So I did 25.
Because you had to make up for what? You had put in 250, it was only 25?
I had to make up for 200,000.
200,000, okay.
So 25 in ambulance, 50 in assessor overlay, 50 in new growth, so 75 in local receipts. And I'll show you where I did that. I went back and I looked at where we were at for motor vehicle excise. I was able to jump about in there a bit because of what our actuals were for FY23. I just opened up that column if you can see it. We did come in at 708,000, so I am budgeting it close at 695, but that helps us significantly there. Meals tax, obviously, I have to keep low. I upped it a little bit because we came in at 47,000 last year, but I need to keep it lower than last year's because of TGI Fridays closing. We brought in 221,000 from the hotel last year. I'm putting it at 220, so that's cutting it very close there. I think those were the major adjustments. I kept permits the same.
might have gone up slightly on other licenses and permits. I'd have to check that, but the big changes were looking at motor vehicle excise, and hotel.
Kristen, are you going to post this update on the Google Drive?
It is there.
It's there, okay.
And then I moved the old one into the drafts, so you still have the old one there
Okay,
too.
thank you.
You got it. So, sorry, I wish unfortunately that, 250 was not too good to be true, but unfortunately I own it, I made a mistake there. So fortunately we were able to adjust it without too much pain and suffering.
Do you know what the kind of the ratio is so that between what our stabilization is and the CPA funds there? Do we know? Well,
You mean the interest rate?
no, not the interest rate, but you were looking at bumping it from 25 to 250. I was just curious. You said that was like it was interest, obviously coming from the stabilization funds. What is our stabilization number, and what was the CPA number?
So we moved about $4 million, and that's a combined total between the three stabilization accounts and the CPA, the capital stabilization, the general stabilization, the energy stabilization. Am I missing one, June? Are those the three?
Yeah, I think those are them.
Okay. And so it was $4
Energy.
million between them all, with CPA being the largest. I believe CPA had almost $2 million in it.
Okay, of the 4 million, CPA was about 2 million.
I believe so. I stopped sharing. I can look that up. I had that up earlier, actually. So we were actually able to go from, we were getting like 0.1% on some of them to 4.5%. But unfortunately, that doesn't go back to the general fund. So.
Okay. Right, any other business?
Nope.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Motion
Second?
made. It's seconded.
All right, roll call, Scott,
Name
aye.
seconded.
Cliff, aye.
Mary, aye.
Julie, I.
Okay.